we'll get started then. So our first topic is API test automation using Karate framework by BDD approach, which will be given by our two speakers, Manoj, Karthik and Vishwaja. So yeah, Manoj Karthik, he is a senior QA around 7+ years of experience, and he is associated with Thoughtworks for a year. And he is passionate about test architect and working in various tools and tech stacks like Java, JavaScript, etc. And coming to Vishwaja, she joined Thoughtworks 6 months ago and working as a QA. And she's interested in UI automation and exploring more on testing tools. Yeah, over to you, Manoj and Vishwaja.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Punita, for giving a brief introduction about us. Hi, people here. So this is Manoj. So I have Vishwaja here. Vishwaja, you can just give an answer to the audience.
Yeah, hi everyone.
So maybe I just share my screen. So you are able to see my screen.
Yeah.
So hi folks, today we are going to present one interesting topic on API test automation using Karate framework by using a BDD approach. So most of us, you would have been aware of doing an API test automation using REST assured or using some other Java HTTP client. So you would have not aware much about the Karate framework. So there is a framework and dependencies which has been developed by one of the folks in the Karate labs. So for automating everything in a simpler way. So if you're using a REST assured or any other platform, you'll be needing some kind of code dependencies to doing it. So, but if you're using this Karate framework, so you can just write a simple code in a BDD approach using a Cucumber format. So that's what we wanted to showcase this one today as part of this session. So maybe I'll move on with the agenda. So these are the topics which we are planning to cover today. So first we will be seeing an introduction to Karate. So and then we'll be looking at the Karate working architecture. So the internal platforms, so Karate has been developed on top of any other framework which was available in market. So then we'll be looking at the framework components. So for automating the API test using Karate. So then we will be seeing future files and test runner. So as I mentioned that it's a BDD approach. We need a future file for our API test. So then we'll be see how this API test automation works in the platform by having a live demo. So and then we'll look at the key features. And then we'll see what's the difference between Karate, REST assured, and the Cucumber framework. At last, we'll see what are the advantages of using Karate. So without any further delay, maybe I'll hand over the session to Vishwaja to continue.
Thank you, Manoj. So let's move on to introduction to Karate framework. Karate framework follows the BDD style of writing the program, which follows the BDD approach. The syntax is easy to understand by any non-programmer. And this framework is the only API testing and combined API test automation and performance testing into a single skeleton tool. It provides the user that the ability to execute the test case in parallel and perform the JSON and XML checks. It supports automation for REST, SOAP, and GraphQL API services. So let's move on to Karate architecture. So this Karate architecture is built top of the Cucumber framework. And as I already mentioned, it is easy to understand by any non-programmer. So here, Cucumber JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So it's glued with the step definition and a feature file. But in Karate, we are having only feature file. So Karate DSL interpreter are sending the HTTP client abstraction request and getting the response by Apache and Jersey. Then JS engine helps to execute the code of JavaScript with JSON and XML checks. Here, the data functions means put, patch, post, etc. The whole Karate script is running in Java runtime environment. And the JUnit runner helps to run the script. Once the script is running, once the script is executed, then report will be generated. So let's move on to next slide. So these are some framework components. Karate dependent libraries. So first, while writing the script, we have to import some libraries. After that, Karate API test scripts. We have to write some API scripts, then test runner using JUnit. So we have to import one library name as the JUnit to run to execute our script. Once our script get executed successfully, then report will be generated. How many test cases are passed and failed report will be generated. So let's see. Can you please move on to next slide? So this one is the feature file. So we'll consider one scenario, create and retrieve a cat. Given key one and when, then, and. So this is the gherkin keywords. So here in the first scenario, we are passing the method as post and status as 201. That is payload assertion in one line, ID is not null and we must believe. So in the second scenario, we're getting the path as a response ID, method as get and status as 200. So let's see the test runner file. So here we are importing one package name as the animals.cat and importing two libraries and giving the annotation like run with. To deep understanding, I'll hand it over to Manoj to continue with demo.
Yeah, so maybe before going ahead with the demo, so let's pass on for a minute to check from the inside if there is any clarification on the slides which has been explained now the expression. So you want to know what is the karate or any other things. So if there is no further questions, so maybe I'll just show you the demo. So the karate framework works for automating the test API things. So in order to demonstrate the API test automation using a karate framework, so we have taken a Maven project. So wherein, as Vishwaja mentioned that you need to import the karate related dependencies in a form.xml to consume the karate services for the test automation. So in a form.xml, we are adding both karate related dependencies and JUnit related dependencies in order to execute our tests. So these are the two things which will be needed to get started with the API test automation by Karate. So then, as mentioned before, this is a kind of BDD approach for automating the API test, so that we will be having only future files kept in our main project. So we are having the future files under a future package and test folder. So under future package, we will be having a different set of a feature file specific to the get API calls or a post API that feature file. So whatever it's there, so we are following the same structure pattern. So if you see the get API that feature file, so here we are having a list of test scenarios grouped for testing the get API calls. So here we are defined in the same pattern. So we will be doing it in a Cucumber BDD feature file. The same approach we will be following here as well. We will be having the scenarios grouped under the feature file. So here we will be having one tag called as background. So this background is nothing but it's pretty much similar to the before test annotation in test.ng. So one variable will be initialized every time. So when you run a successful test, in the same way before executing every scenario, so whatever the value you are defining in the background session, it will be get initialized. So this is nothing but similar to the setting up the base URL in any framework. So here I'm just setting my API endpoint URL to be pointing to this value. So then if you see the first scenario, this is nothing for getting the details of a user with the header. So here I'm representing my test scenarios in a gherkins keyword. So using a given, when, and then. So then I'm using a karate keyword such as path. So using a path, I'm initializing the actual path of the API. So for which I need to test it. So then I have to mention which kind of method is it. So for now, I'm just going to validate the get API call. So that's why I'm using the karate keyword method, and then I'm making my API assertion value to be as get. So then if you want to pass any headers for your API request, so if it's a kind of single header, you can make use of this header keyword. So then you can pass the header value along with the information. So then if in case if you want to have multiple header values for your request, so you can make use of headers keywords in Karate. So this keyword will be accepting the input variable containing the list of header values. So you can see that request underscore headers having multiple values defined in this line number 11. So wherein all of the header values, so whatever I mentioned, the line 11 will be picked up and passed to my request. So then I'm just checking my status is to be as 200 OK success or not. And then I'm printing my response using the keyword method. So these are the things for printing the response and response status and the response time. So this is how you can write an test automation code using Karate in order to test the API test. So here I'm not using any Java code or a separate step definition file in order to write my API test. So instead, I'm using only the methods. So whatever it's available in the Karate, so then I'm writing my API test. So if you see in the scenario, so here we are retrieving the details of a user with the parameter and assertion in the API response. So if you want to add any kind of parameter for your API request, in Karate, we have one keyword called as param method. So using this param method, you can pass the filter values per page. I'm passing it as 6. So then the remaining lines is the same, whatever we are seeing now. It's a get API call, and then I'm passing the values and printing it. So then I'm making use of match and assert method to check whether my response JSON object, so whatever it's fetching from my API is as expected. So here in this line using match, I'm just checking my first name in my response is not equal to match. So then I'm just checking my response length is retrieving the length of size of 6. So because I'm making a filter here using a parameter as 6, then I'm just checking and ensuring that the response is retrieving only the JSON limit up to 6. So if you see the next scenario, so here it's getting the details of the user with some conditional logics and loops.
Manoj, sorry for interrupting. Can you check your mic, please? Can you come to closer to your mic? Yeah, please.
Able to hear me?
Yeah, it's clear now. Yes.
Sure. So this is a scenario for getting the details of a user with conditional logics, checks and loops. So as I mentioned that here we are not using any separate coding logic or step definition file to write your API test. If you want to add some kind of a iteration logic or some kind of a conditional if and else checks, so still that is also possible in Karate. You can make use of JavaScript to be perform this validation. So here in Karate, we can make use of eval keyword to execute your JavaScript logic. So here we have mentioned the loop iteration for iterating through my API response. And then I'm just checking it whether my length of API response is as expected equal to 6. So if it's not expected, in else condition, I'm just making my Karate test script to be failed using karate.fail invalid response. So this is how you can make use of JavaScript in Karate script for performing conditional logic checks and looping. So then the next scenario is for retrieving the details of user with either authentication token. So before going into this scenario, so I would like to mention that Karate supports code reusability also. So in most of the cases for fetching token information, so this will be needed in each and every test in the header authorization information. So I have kept this token generation test scenario in a separate future file, user authentication.future. So in this future file, the scenario, whatever I defined is fetching the token for user detail. So every time this particular scenario will be returning the token response. So token response which is needed in order to proceed with my API authentication. So you can make a call of the particular token generation test scenario from the future file user authentication.future using a call and then read method in a Karate. So it's a kind of simple method call from one class to another class. So we can also call the particular test scenario from one future file to another file. So after calling, you'll be having an content, the token available in the response JSON object. So then in this response variable, we can access the access token. So then we can concatenate it with the header for making my authorization available for the API endpoint. So this is how you can reuse some piece of code from one future file to another. And also the authentication also it's possible in Karate. So you can just simply pass that authentication token in authorization header value. So this is pretty much about automating the Git API scenarios using Karate. So next I'll just show how we can automate the post API call. So this is also similar to the Git API thing. So only difference here you need to pass the request payload. So in the line number 9, I'm just using a request keyword. So in the request keyword, I'm just passing the payload information. So for which the resource needs to be created in a database. So then my method, I'm defining it as a post. So then I'm just checking my status to be validated as 201. So this is how you can automate the API calls as well. So in this scenario, I've just directly outcoded the JSON information in the request payload and in the response payload as well. So if you would like to fetch this request payload information and the response payload information from a separate JSON file, so that one also it's possible in Karate. So in the second scenario, you can see in this line, I'm using pointing my file path of the variable from the data package. So in the data package, so I'm keeping two kind of JSON information. So this is for my request payload information, name and job, I'm adding it. So and then the response payload information, I'm having a certain kind of validation to be available. So the same JSON information, so I'm invoking in my code using a read method. So and then I'm making a request call without directly outcoding. I'm making a call to JSON using read method from external files. So then in the response payload validation as well. So instead of outcoding, I'm calling my JSON information from the external files. So this is how we can automate the post API calls, and you can call the respective JSON information from the external files. So then using Karate, you can automate the GraphQL service as well. So till now I've shown only the REST API calls. So we have seen REST API automation for the GET calls and the post API calls. So but using Karate, you can automate the GraphQL service as well. So as we know that you will be passing a query. So in order to retrieve some information for GraphQL services from the endpoint. So here in the request information, I am just passing the query, the jobs ID and title. So I need to fetch the response using this GraphQL endpoint. I need to fetch ID and title only. So then it will be a kind of post call only every time. So then I'm just checking the status validation. So again, using JavaScript, I'm performing the iteration to the response and checking that title is not equal to null in the response information using match class. So this is how you can automate the GraphQL service as well. So then at last, you can connect to database as well. So in most of the times when we do our API test automation, you need to validate certain kinds of values from your database. So using a JDBC driver in Karate, you can connect your particular database. So here I have configured to connect to my local Postgres SQL database. So here I've just maintained the conditional checks, the username, password, and other credential information of my local DB. So then I'm pointing my Karate script to my local DB and I'm fetching the required information. So in this line, you can see that I've created an instance of a DB in variable DB. So using this DB instance, I'm reading the particular rows. So the queries, whatever we need to pass it in a database, I'm just passing it here, select star from employee. And then I'm just storing the results of the particular query in this employee variable. So then I'm just checking whether the employee is having the right information or not using a match keyword in Karate. So this is how you can simply connect to your database and do the database validation along with the API test validation as well. So then coming back to the test execution. So as mentioned by Vishwaja, we will be needing a test runner. So in order to execute our API tests, so this is nothing but the Karate test annotation we are using it. And then we are just mentioning the run keyword to execute our test. So two kinds of execution is possible in Karate. So one is sequential mode of execution. Another one is parallel mode of execution. So let me try to execute a sequential way first. So whatever the feature files we maintain in your future package, so everything will be get executed one by one in a sequence. So as of now, you can see all of the future files is getting executed one by one. So whatever I maintain in the future package. So this will be done in a sequential manner. So we are not using any other logics to do it. I think here the one of the service was taking time. So maybe I'll stop the execution. So now you can see the execution was happening one by one without any interruption. So if you want to perform this execution, everything in a parallel mode. So again, using a JUnit test annotation, and then you can define the parallel count. So how many parallel counts? So for example, if you want your test execution to be happened in a 6 parallel thread counts, so then you can define the thread counts using the parallel method. So here I maintain the thread count to be a 6. So when I execute the test now, so all of the API tests, so whatever it's available in my future file, so everything will be executed in a single shot. So without any sequential approach, all will be run in a parallel way. So by creating 6 parallel threads in a parallel. So this is how you can do an execution in Karate in sequential and the parallel way as well. So maybe this was having some issues. I'll just stop it. So once the execution is done, a test report will be generated under the target folder. So Karate is having a inbuilt test generation pattern, so that if you want to customize your test report also, you can, that is also possible in Karate. So, but it has a default test generation approach as well. So I'll just open one of the test execution report. So this is the report which has been generated recently. So here you can see the detailed scenario. So whatever we mentioned in the particular future file, so everything will be get printed. So here create user details. So in a background, we have just mentioned that URL value to be passed as this base URL path. So and then we have just checked a few of the detailed information as well. So those things also it's available here. So and then the API response. So we have maintained one kind of values to be get printed. So those response, complete API response will be get printed. So at later point of time, you can come back to this report and you can verify your test execution report. So this is one of the another added feature for Karate. So it's easy for debugging. So in case of any failures, still the particular step will be highlighted in Karate report. So as of now, you can see in this report, the step 5 is getting failed. So the reason for is that the expected status was 200, but we have retrieved the status as 201. So that's why this particular step has been failed. So even in case of test execution failure, you can just directly look at the failed steps and you can just check. So what's an issue in the script? So this is how the reporting will be generated in the karate skill. I think pretty much I covered the demo part. So maybe I'll hand it over to Vishwaja to continue.
Yeah, thanks, Manoj. So these are some keywords. In demo, we saw some basic keywords, but if you want to explore more, folks, then you can refer these keywords. Next. So these are some key features. Supports karate framework as we seen in demo, automation testing using REST, SOAP and GraphQL and parallel execution. Apart from this, karate supports web UI automation, data-driven testing, performance testing, mock APIs and contract testing. Next. So let's see the comparison between Karate, Rest Assure, and Cucumber. In Karate, we are using feature file without any step definition. But in Rest Assure and Cucumber, we are using separate Java logic to write API test. In Karate, only less code we are using because we are using gherkin keywords. And in Rest Assure and Cucumber, line of code is more. Karate is less complex than Rest Assure and Cucumber. Karate supports the parallel execution, but the Cucumber and Rest Assure does not support the parallel execution. Next. So these are some advantages of the karate. If any person have the little knowledge about the coding, they can start with the karate. And it is a very powerful JSON validation. One can do the coding in JavaScript as well as in Java also. Karate features a multiple threading parallel execution, and it has detailed logs and reports also. Next. So to know more detail about the karate, folks, you can refer this link. And we also put our code in Git. Maybe folks, you can check out later.
So in this demo, so we have just covered only one piece of karate. So wherein we have targeted only the API test automation. So still using this framework, you can explore the other scenarios as well. This one performance testing using Gatling also possible, and web UI automation also it's supported. Even you can explore on mocking an API and contract testing as well. So these are the other added feature which is available in karate. So still we are also exploring on this part. So using this framework, in a API test, so you can write it in a simple plain text. So similar to the karate BDD UA automation tool. In the same way, you can write it. So which will be easy for a non-technical person. Even for a API test, you'll be able to understand if you structure your test in this way. So and also you can extend this framework for GraphQL and SOAP as well. So those are the few things which karate benefited us. So I think that's all from our end, folks. So maybe we would like to hear if there is any questions from anyone.
Manoj, we have some questions in the chat.
Yeah. Yes, Sriram, we can implement POJOs as well. So that is also possible. So whatever Java logics which we are doing it, so we can do it in karate as well. And also it's have a flexibility to integrate JavaScript as well. So how we do in Rest Assured also in karate also we can do that.
Yeah, Manoj, Tushar having one question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Manoj, couple of questions here. The first thing is when I looked at the feature file, uh, it doesn't seems more like, kind of readable in readable format, just like we have a gherkin syntax in Cucumber, which is easily understandable to the non-tech people, including the BAs and project managements. So is there any way, like, where we can write the feature file in a way which is more understandable and more clear to the non-tech people, because we know that we don't have step definitions over here. So not having a step definition, that means like whatever logic you have to write it, you have to write it in the form of the keywords which are specific for karate. So I mean, actually, my personal view is like, by looking at this feature file, it makes very difficult for the non-tech people to understand that what exactly we are trying to validate in this. So do you think like we have any kind of plugins or anything which can make the feature file more easily understandable or readable?
Yes, Tushar, that is also possible. So we didn't explore on that part, but you can make the feature file as readable ones. So in the plain English text, so a non-technical person can understand. So that is possible in the product. So
Okay.
you can refer the links whatever we mentioned in the slide. So there they are mentioned. So you have to do the implementation for that.
Okay. Yeah. And second thing is like, the complex coding which we have, the complex logics which we have to write into, like, into our feature files. So for that, do we have any kind of keyword? Because if I see the complex one, if you can see line number 36 that says eval, where we are writing the for loop which contains all the logic. So this is a very basic for loop which we can
Yeah.
add. But let's say we have to add some complex coding or complex logic we have to implement into finding some particular attribute or particular node from a response and finding with validating some specific attribute value. So I mean, how we can do that? I mean,
You can use the same logic, Tushar. How you will be doing in Java REST assured. The same way you can do it here as well. So in order to have this feature file more simple, you can add that logic in a separate class file, and then
okay,
you can
okay,
call that function here.
okay.
So that code reusability
Code
also is there.
reusability is there. Okay.
It's possible. So I shown in the demo as well. So this is a demo for making use of a token authentication method. So in my response,
Mhm.
so this is one scenario. So if you want to do some kind of a Java validation in your response, so you can create some separate test scenario in another file and you can call it.
So is it like we have to create a separate class or we have to create a separate feature file? Because
Yeah,
here both is possible,
future
right?
file also, both is
Okay.
possible. You can
Okay.
also create separate class and future files.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Manoj, we have other question in the chat from
yeah,
Deep. Yeah.
sure. Custom keywords. The support for custom keyword is not available right now. So we can write our code logic. So, but not the custom keywords is not available. The next one, can we implement continuous integration with Bamboo added with remote and grids? Yes, integration with CACD also possible. So you can make this test run using a command line argument. So and then you can execute this over CACD pipeline on Jenkins or any other platform Bamboo. Anything else solution?
Do you have any question, audience?
Any questions or any doubts in my clarification what I mentioned? So if there is no further questions, thanks people for joining and spending time with us. So maybe I'll hand it over to Subha to start with the.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Manoj and Vishwaja. That was a great session. So I hope we all get to know some insights on the Karate framework for the API automation. And thanks for clarifying the questions as well. So the next will be the polling. So as we mentioned earlier, so we have few quiz for you. So you will get it in the chat. So please take some 2 minutes of time to complete that. Yeah. Yeah, now poll is live, and if you are not able to see, please let us know.
So I hope 50% of the participants are already entered the poll. We have other 1 minute left. So we have other 50 seconds. So I see only 65% of the people have participated. So please do participate. So we have other 30 seconds. We have other 10 seconds. So I see only 70% are completed. Okay, the poll has ended. So thanks for participating.